Again, welcome to Career Innovations Job Seekers Q&A session. I'm Bridget Baggett. I'm the Director of Recruiting. For those that may be their first time on the line, if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, you definitely can use your panel to either raise your hand and I'll unmute your line and you can verbally ask a question, or you can actually type your question in the question chat box if you have a question that was not submitted to me prior to the workshop. Again, these workshops are for you, the job seeker. It's even for candidates that or employees that are gainfully employed. So it's not just only for unemployed individuals. So I really would like when people sign up for these workshops to send questions, because this is how the workshops are developed, around the questions that you ask. I only received 2 questions, like I said. One of the questions revolved about interviewing, which we have a great workshop already posted on our YouTube about interviewing, and we had one about degrees, as far as having a degree that may not be as competitive. Let me just give you a little overview about myself, 30-second snapshot of our firm's overview. I'm pretty much the Director of Recruiting, or some may call it headhunter. I'm over the staffing recruiting. We unite with different organizations to find top talent. I'm the Director of Staffing. I truly see ourselves as innovators. We use innovative approaches to find our top talent, either unconventional and untraditional methods. One of my true passions is organizational change. I truly believe that organizational culture starts with the company's core values. It's the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent. People usually are attracted and they usually stay where they're comfortable and where the corporate culture is able to cultivate their professional growth. Today's quote is: people often say they do not, or people often say they have not yet found themselves, but the self is not something one finds, it's something one creates. And let me repeat that. People often say they have not yet found themselves, but the self is not something one finds, it's something one creates. And I think this quote goes perfect into what we're talking about today, as far as being able to not wait for an opportunity or not finding an opportunity, but actually creating the opportunity. And I think this really will align with the 2 questions that were asked previous to this workshop. When a degree is not enough, and there's a lot of graduating seniors. I had a lot of students that actually log in to listen to this workshop. Some people that have recently graduated, some people that are currently in school looking to graduate this May, or some seasoned employees that are currently working, have not only one but several degrees. But what happens when a degree is just not enough? What happens to the big picture when when you run into that particular challenge? My next slide is it worth the investment? This is very subjective to who you ask. My personal opinion and my professional opinion is yes. At the end of the day, I do think investing in yourself, whether it may be a degree, whether it may be a certification, whether it be a trade, I do think it's worth the investment. We're now in 2014. And we're no longer in the industrial manufacturing era where people could go work in the factories for 30, 40 years and, retire with a pension. We're no longer in those days. Your education and your experience is what's going to sell you. So it's really about what you can bring to the table, what problem can you solve for an organization. So when someone asks me, is it worth the investment? Definitely. And I actually wanted to back up not my answer or my quote-unquote opinion with some actual facts. This has been done time and time again. This is nothing new. The earnings that someone makes with the college degree versus an associate, a master's, or a professional degree outweighs someone that just has a high school diploma or someone that doesn't even have a high school diploma. So the numbers don't lie. Of course, you're going to have the ones that, are going to bump heads and say, well, I know someone that knows someone that knows someone that doesn't have a college degree that's, making more than people with the college degree. And I will agree with that as well. But how many people do you know like that? I know more people that have some type of foundation that has been able to build upon that versus a handful of people. When I say a handful, I'm talking about the amount I can count on one hand that has been able to pave their way without any type of formal education. So I'm not contesting that at all. I really truly believe that you can make a way. You know, entrepreneurship is a great way, but also keep in mind some entrepreneurships or ventures that you may take in starting your own business does require some type of background depending on what you're going to. First of all, you want to come across as credible to your consumers. So depending on what type of craft that you're entering, whether it's a trade, whether you're selling something, marketing something, or trying to build something, nowadays people want to make sure that they can trust a product that they're going to purchase. So sometimes a degree or certification or something shows that you're credible in that particular industry will tremendously affect whether or not your business is going to be successful. So in some cases, entrepreneurships require some level of formal training. So you want to look at this. I'm going to review the graph. As you can see, the percentage or the weekly earnings. This is taken in 2000, or these are the results from 2013. This was obtained for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It was last modified March 24th, 2014, which was actually the day I actually pulled it offline today. So this is very current information. And if you can look at the graph, and the red bars represent unemployment rate, and the green bars represent weekly earnings in dollar figures. So you're able to see somebody with a less than a high school diploma is making 400, we even rounded up to $500 a week, versus someone that has a bachelor's degree that's making $1,100 a week. You know, that's double, a little bit more than double. So you can start to see that the numbers don't lie depending on educational background. But we're not only talking about money here. I wanted to pull this graph up because I also wanted to show how unemployment affects the people that don't have that foundation. Unemployment is very, very high at 11.0% up to 7.5% with people with just a high school diploma or less. Once you get up to the doctorate's degrees, professional's degrees, masters, you can see that a lot of this is under 5%. We're talking 2.3%, 3.4%, 4%, or these are people that have actual foundations and educations that can back up some of the experiences and some of the solutions they can bring to the table. So when they say high unemployment rate, this gives you a picture of how or who unemployment is affecting. I'm not saying people with degrees are not at work. I work with them every day. But I'm also saying that unemployment is hitting a lot of people that have not invested in their education much harder than the people that have. And these are the numbers pulled showing you where everyone stands on this platform. And one thing I did want to address why I actually had this slide up, and whether you agree if investing in your education or not, I first want to go and just to look at some of the job postings that are online. A lot of people are, applying to jobs, and if you start to see a trend out there as well, whether they're asking for a BA or a BS degree or some type of certification, I'm seeing a lot of jobs that are starting to ask for advanced degrees as well. And these jobs also have opportunities in which require you to manage others. So I wanted to also touch on this as well. And once we go into what major you have, because like I said, this question was pertaining to someone that asked me about whether or not their major or what the degree they got, if it's not desirable, what do they do? And I wanted to also address that by saying, you know what, at the end of the day, a degree shows something bigger. A degree is a bigger picture what employers look at. Regardless of major, a degree shows that you can start something and finish it. To some, this may be a no-brainer. To some, this may be something that, well, I kind of knew that. But you wouldn't believe how many people flake out on long-term goals. Whether it's to get a particular certification or to complete an assignment or to go back to school to further their education, showing that you're able to plan something, follow through on it from beginning to execution reveals a lot about a person's character and their tenacity to get a job done. And I also wanted to point to that before we move to the next slide. So that's one thing I wanted to emphasize with people that may feel, well, you know what, I got this degree, I can't do nothing with it. But you know what, it shows that you can start something and you can finish it, because there's a lot of people out there that have invested to get their education and have not finished. And companies and organizations look at that, believe it or not. They look at, even this may not be the major or the degree I would have got, this person still followed through on getting this done. And that shows a lot, especially when you're trying to hold down a job. You have a degree, so what? Experience will get you hired. And the reason why I said that, I said a degree may get you an interview, but experience will get you hired. A degree would have me look at your resume and say, wow, this is great. This person has accomplished a lot. But being able to show me what you accomplished, being able to implement a solution in my organization, that's what's going to get you hired, not your degree. And one example actually I read about that was on LinkedIn was an article about someone that said, I would rather employ a freelance graphic designer with 3 years experience that has a clients list that can back up his or her work than a person with a master's degree and no experience at all. So basically what they're saying is that I'd rather work with someone that's already been exposed to the industry, already contracting gigs. This shows that this person has developed some sense of independence, has held some type of responsibility and drive, and all these traits are hireable, employable traits that employers look at. Next one is passion works overtime. If you're just looking to get hired anywhere, if you're just out there, and I talk about this in some of my workshops, if you're job board surfing and not actually job board hunting or job hunting, there's a totally difference. It's a totally different ball game when you do this, and employers can detect this. They can sense when you're just looking for a job, you're just looking for a paycheck. So if you're looking to invest time and invest something that you really enjoy doing, companies are able to sense that as well. They can sense if this is your passion, if this is something that you truly want to do, or whether this is just something that you're going to take until something better comes along. A lot of people can sense this when they're in the interviewing phase, when they're onboarding. They can sense if their company or this position is being used, just to get their foot in the door or just, I'm going to take this job until I hear back from the next one. And once I hear back from this one, I'll just put in my 2-week notice. And they're able to see this. So passion works overtime. When you're able to show that you're passionate about a position, you're passionate about an industry, and being able and showing passion is basically doing your homework, knowing about the industry that you're applying to, knowing the competitors of the company that you're interviewing with, knowing what makes your industry money, knowing the trends that are happening with quarter to quarter, year to year. These are some things that not only show that you're educated about your industry, but you have some type of investment involved. And that's what employees are looking for as well. Build a buzz. This goes beyond a degree. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to build or pursue, you're not your degree. You are what people perceive. If people perceive that you're an expert in XYZ, that's what you'll be known for, not what you majored in college. And a lot of people don't understand that. Even if you have a degree that you may feel that's not hot right now, it's not that IT degree or that engineering degree or that healthcare degree, you still can market yourself and build a buzz in the market. And a perfect example, and I actually challenge you to look up some people that you may follow, maybe a blogger, maybe a leader in your industry. Research that person's educational background. Many will discover that many of the leaders that they hold close to them in their industry may hold a degree, but it may not be a degree necessarily related to the industry in which they represent. Perception is reality. Sometimes creating that buzz, educating yourself, getting the right network, building the right foundation can create a buzz that regardless of what your major is, you have put yourself in an environment which you are seen as a leader, as an educator, and as an expert. And that's what you're trying to be known as, and you're not trying to be known as the person with the XYZ degree. And I tell people all the time, is a lot of people that I follow that are leaders in our industry, in HR, in recruiting, that don't have a degree related to HR recruiting, but they have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have the exposure that, it actually has them as a leader, in which they are, because they're able to gain so many resources from other people that's what they're known from. So that's why I'm telling people, even if you did not get what you want out of your degree, or you were misled with the degree that you have, or even if you have a degree that's just no longer hot. One thing now, I said now everything's going to going on to the internet. One of the industries that are fading out is the print industry, journalism. Now everybody's either vlogging or blogging. So print's out. Everything's online now. So a lot of industries, no fault of your own, has just started to change with the times, and you have to figure a way, how can I create a buzz for this new industry or existing industry that I may want to get into. When your degree is not good enough, we're going to go over some points. It's just 4 points that I want to touch on that you can do right now to either get yourself out there, that's going to help with not only interviewing but also help with getting into the industry that you want, or even making a lateral move within the existing industry that you may be currently employed. Many employers now are testing applicants for various qualifications. We're talking about personality, specific skill sets, knowledge, and analytical thinking. The trend towards employers testing has been fueled by the backlash against the high cost of, again, four-year colleges, mounting student debt. So people argue if job applicants can demonstrate or have the same knowledgeable or reasonable skills that employers need, regardless if the job requires a degree or not. Before we get into that, I just want to actually explore one of the things that I ask people when they feel that my degree is just not good enough. First, I want you to reflect on the reason you selected that major. What was the reason that you actually selected to be in that particular field? Own that reason. Regardless if you were misinformed about the potential opportunities, or if it was a passion that you no longer have, own that reason why you actually went to school for that particular degree. Once you own that reason, review what you've gained from obtaining that degree. Find what transferable skills that can be extracted from your experiences, and how can they be applied to what you want to do. That's what you're going to have to look at. What have I gained from getting this? What exposure, what experiences have I received from getting this degree, and how can I apply this to what I truly want to do? The first thing I was going to talk about is do it yourself. Doing it yourself means going out there and finding out what it's going to take to make the career move that you want to make. You got a history degree. That's one person that reached out, and or you have a biology degree. You realize, now I got this biology degree, I really can't work anywhere unless I get my master's degree, because I don't have any lab or any research experience, and the list goes on and on and on. So, okay, we understand that. But what have you gained from that degree that you can apply to this new field? You may can get somewhere in healthcare, may not be in a lab, but it may be doing something that can push you closer to what you truly want to do. Once you're able to do that, you want to put emphasis on what are some resources that are available to me that's going to push me closer to my goal. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit because I actually had a candidate I was working for, or working with, I should say, that was looking to get in the IT field. And he needed certain certifications, and of course, he had to go back to, he was debating on whether he wanted to go back to school, and he had to take this test. And I know the test was either C++ or A+, or one of the IT certifications that he had to take. And, he was saying, I just don't have the money to put out for some of these programs. Some of these programs are very, very expensive, especially for some of these niche IT certifications. So guess what he did? He did it himself. He went online and he actually used YouTube, believe it or not. He used YouTube and looked up bits and parts of what he needed to know for his C++ certification. And he also looked at videos where people actually were simulating different type of programming. And he would, duplicate what they did in the video and followed along. And he did this all on his own time. A couple months passed and he reached back out to me and he said, I took the test. And I said, how did you do? He passed. He passed. He got the same certification other people spend, $2,000 for exam prep courses that he actually learned from YouTube, which is absolutely free. This is something that you have to think out the box. What can you do to leverage the resources that you currently have that can get you moving forward to your ultimate goal? Another one is preceptorships. This way you can find opportunities either through shadowing, internships. I urge people to check their local colleges. If you already currently hold a degree, you should be checking your alumni associations. If you're currently in the industry that you want to be in, or you're trying to pursue an industry that you're not yet in, I would definitely look at industry-related organizations and associations related to that industry. Like, again, if you're in marketing, you want to look up the American Marketing Association. For me, I'm in human resources. I would look up the Society of Human Resource Management, which is SHRM. So you definitely want to start looking up organizations and associations that are related to the industry that you want to get in. You won't believe how many opportunities are out there to get people employable skills to do that particular task. Also look at nonprofit organizations. A lot of them have back to work programs. A lot of them have programs to sharpen currently gainfully employed skill sets. So even if you're employed, there are programs out there that can at least keep your skills relevant. You definitely need to look into some nonprofits that are actually investing into people to make sure they're keeping their skill set relevant, and making them more of an asset for the organization. Get a mentor. And just as like the saying goes, if you're the brightest light bulb, or if you're the best player on the team, you need a new team. And that could not be held more true in this particular situation. Go out your way to find someone or mentor or make friends with someone that is slightly more accomplished than you. That's the only way you're going to learn. If everybody in your circle knows the same thing and nothing more, how are you growing? You want to find a mentor that's going to be able to help your development professionally, even on a personal level. That's how a lot of people make different connections, and you can also get different opportunities through different networks just by reaching out to someone. So again, find the right person within your network, or best out of your network, that you can reach out to that can at least mentor you on a particular industry that you may want to get into. Again, the last one is keeping your employable skills relevant. And this is regardless of what industry you go into. You want to keep your skills relevant. Things are changing. Technology is changing. Jobs are changing, which means that regardless if you have to do self-study assignments, if you have to go back to get certified, whatever you have to do to keep your skill set sharp is what you're going to have to invest in. Because again, this is what employers are looking at, and when they're looking to hire someone, they're trying to hire someone that's going to be a solution to the problem that they have. And if you're not bringing any solutions, you're going to be a person that they're going to overlook. So you want to make sure that you're going to be able to bring relevant skills to the table. They're going to be able to help with current problems that a company may be having. And again, I do this for the first 30 minutes, and after that I open up the floor for anyone to ask questions that may not have been able to ask questions before the workshop, or send questions to me before the workshop. If you have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and open up the line, and you can ask any questions or raise your hand, and I can answer those directly. Okay, I do have a question that came in. What if one degree is totally different than that of the work experience one may have? Can I market myself in the industry that I have been or my degree field? I think that you're asking me, should you market yourself to what your degree is in, or should you market yourself to what your work experience is in? And my answers to you, and it goes back to this slide, experience will get you hired. A degree will get you an interview, but experience will get you hired. It goes back to that, because what people are going to look at when they look at your resume, they're going to see what field you've actively been working in. So what I mean by that is, if you have and I'm not even exaggerating. I know someone with a music degree that does sales. And how they got into sales was, they started in an entry-level call center position and worked their way up to a sales position. They got a music degree. Is that person going to go out and start applying for music jobs to be a music instructor? They could, but they're probably going to hire somebody that actually has been teaching music versus somebody that just has a degree in music. Vice versa. If they see somebody with a music degree, but they've been doing sales for the past 10 years, I'm going to hire them versus somebody that just has a sales degree. So you definitely want to start putting your eggs in the basket that are going to yield you the most results, which would be your work experience. One thing I can tell you, that people hire people that can solve a problem. You have to be a solution. Your degree is not a solution. Your degree just tells me that you're able to start something and finish it. What solutions have you done? / what's your work experience? What solutions have you brought an organization that it's going to be valuable to my organization? Your degree is not valuable to my organization unless you've used it, unless you implemented it somehow. So to answer your question, I definitely would focus on what your experience is in, and what your experience is in, and start building on that. Say you're in an industry that this is what your experience is in, but your degree says something totally different. Just like the candidate or the person I was talking about that has a music degree, but guess what? Over the 10 years she's been in sales, she's been getting sales certifications. She's been getting sales awards. She's been attending sales training and sales workshops. So when she puts that stuff all on her resume, they see sales. They don't see music. They see sales. So that's when I say you want to start building on what your work experience is in. And that's when, like I said, what's perceived becomes the reality. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there that has built a buzz they're known as an expert in their industry. And you know why they become an expert in their industry? And it has nothing to do with the degree they hold. It has a lot to do with the experiences they brought to the table. That's why they're viewed as an expert. It has nothing to do with the degree they have. So you definitely want to heavily look at what experience or what value you can bring to the table. Okay, I do have another question that came through. How do you get experience in a field that you have no experience in, but you want to gain experience, but your degree will not let you gain experience because that's not what you focused on? Okay, then again, this is kind of like breaking into a new industry, and that goes for also if anyone's on the line that's trying to pursue a new career. You know, there are a lot of people that are changing career paths or changing careers or want to get in a totally different industry. This will also answer that question as well. And it goes back to the slide when I say that you want to really look at what you can bring to the table. And it goes back to doing it yourself and gaining the experience as far as preceptorships. Excuse me. Getting a getting a internship or getting a mentor, because I know a lot of people say, I'm not getting an internship. I've been out of school for 15, 20 years. I'm not going to reach out to it. I totally understand. That's when getting a mentor comes into play. And if you're trying to get into an industry that you have no experience in at all, go to LinkedIn. And the reason why I say go to LinkedIn, look at people that are currently in that industry. Look at people that are already successful in that industry. And when I say go to LinkedIn, I mean go to LinkedIn and literally look at their profiles. Look at where they worked. Look at the degrees they hold, the certifications they may hold, the people in their network, the organizations they associate themselves with. Is a reason why they're in the position that they're in. So you want to be able to write this stuff down and somehow duplicate this. So that's what I mean. You want to, get a mentor and be able to say, if I've never been exposed to this industry, how do I break through into this industry? You want to start looking at people that are already in the industry. Start attending those industry association meetings. Start rubbing elbows with people that are doing the things that you want to do. And it may include taking an entry-level position. I'm not saying that you're going to jump into a brand new industry as a director. Not saying that at all. But I'm saying that you at least need to get that exposure through someone that's already doing it, if that makes sense. Do I have any more questions on the line today? Oh, one more question came in. Where are some resources that we could look at? You mentioned YouTube, but what are some other free resources that we can reach out to or look at to sharpen our skills? To sharpen your skills, there are many workshops, just like you found this one. I know a lot of people either went to the website to find this one or on Eventbrite. There's a lot of free workshops that are given that you can look up. You can randomly just Google a particular industry in your zip code or a demographic in which is close to you or major city, and you can find different events that are going on, webinars, workshops, anything that you can attend. And from going and attending some of these, because this is how I found a lot of continual education exposure, is by attending the free stuff. And when you're able to attend like a free workshop, they sometimes lead you to other resources in which you can reach out to as well. So I definitely think that you should take advantage. If in some cases it may not be economically feasible for you to, I just can't afford to go back to school right now, or I can't afford to get that certification, but I still want to be able to start building my resume in this industry. Start taking advantage of some of the free resources that are out there. There are a lot of companies that do weekly workshops on different topics that absolutely cost you nothing. and you definitely should take a look at it. And I don't know exactly what industry or you are in, but take a look at things that are out there industry related. And I know I keep pushing industry related associations, but those are like the first line of defense. Look up those organizations that are tailored around that industry, and they just have they're packed with resources that you can use to start molding your career professionally. And do I have any more questions today? I don't see any more. And if I missed any, definitely shoot me a line. This is my contact information. First initial, last name at career-innovate.com. You can give me a ring. My extension is 101. Or you can book an appointment. That's the best way to reach me, is just going online and scheduling an appointment. And I'll actually call you directly back when I have it. I actually have it on my calendar. We're all on the social media outlets. After this workshop, there's a survey. It's only 10 questions. It's going to ask you about this particular workshop. It's going to also ask you about topics that you'll like to hear about in the future. That way we can start putting together workshops for April and May, and starting to have some things already going. We do have, if you're looking to, made this go down. If you're looking to look at some of the workshops that we do, and we actually go beyond scratching the surface, because our Q&A workshops usually just scratch the surface, but we do have some that go into building your resume, how to reach out to decision makers, how to interview. We actually go real in depth into how to do those things. We put those online, and you can register for some of those events as well. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me directly. But again, take the survey. That way I know what workshops that you'll like us to build on. If it was a question that we didn't answer, shoot me a line. I can answer with you directly. And you can sign up for another Q&A. We do this every single Monday from 7 to 8 in Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for attending. Everyone have a great day.